In the heart of Philadelphia, amidst the bustling streets and historic charm of Old City, Nathan Parker found himself adrift at the age of 24. The city, with its towering skyline and echoing footsteps, felt both vast and suffocating. His tiny apartment above a quiet bookstore on South Street was his refuge, a place where he could lose himself in literature, his true passion. By day, he worked part-time at a local cafe, serving coffee to hurried commuters and scribbling fragments of his unfinished novel on napkins during lulls. But as weeks turned into months, the dream of completing his book seemed to slip further away, buried under the weight of rent payments and self-doubt. It was on one of those crisp autumn mornings, when the air carried the faint scent of cinnamon and damp leaves, that Nathan stumbled upon an advertisement tucked into the pages of a magazine at the cafe. It was simple, almost unassuming. Artist seeks model for painting sessions. Flexible hours. Competitive pay. The offer was tempting, especially for someone barely scraping by. Little did Nathan know, replying to that ad would alter the course of his life in ways he could never have imagined. The Contemporary Arts Center loomed before him like a sentinel of possibility. Its red brick facade, weathered by time, seemed to whisper secrets of creativity and transformation. Nathan climbed the stairs to Studio 7, his heart pounding with equal parts anticipation and apprehension. When he opened the door, he was greeted by a space bathed in golden light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Unfinished canvases leaned against the walls, their colors vibrant yet incomplete, and the air carried the faint aroma of oil paint and turpentine. Will Anderson stood with his back to the door, focused intently on a massive canvas. His graying temples contrasted sharply with the youthful energy in his posture. When he turned to face Nathan, his blue eyes studied him with the precision of an artist sizing up his next masterpiece. "Nathan Parker?" he asked, his voice deep and calm, filling the room like a melody. He wiped his hands on a paint-splattered rag and gestured for Nathan to sit. "I'm preparing for an exhibition," Will explained, his tone measured but warm. "The theme is modern loneliness, the search for connection in a disconnected world. I need someone who can embody that essence." As they spoke, Nathan realized that Will wasn't just asking about his availability. He was probing deeper, seeking glimpses of Nathan's soul. In turn, Nathan shared pieces of himself, his struggles with writing, his love for storytelling, his feelings of isolation in a city that often felt indifferent. By the end of their conversation, Will had already sketched a few quick impressions in his notebook. "You're exactly what I need," he murmured, more to himself than to Nathan. And so, their journey began. The first sessions were exercises in patience. Will meticulously adjusted Nathan's posture, the angle of his gaze, the way the light fell across his features. Between brushstrokes, they talked about books, art, life. Will had a way of asking questions that made Nathan think deeply about his own story. He learned that Will also wrote, though he kept his musings private, tucked away in leather-bound notebooks. "They're just loose thoughts," he said dismissively, mixing colors on his palette. But Nathan suspected there was more to it. As the weeks passed, the studio became a sanctuary for both of them. Will lent Nathan rare books from his collection, while Nathan left chapters of his novel for Will to critique. Their exchanges were electric, charged with an unspoken understanding that grew stronger with each passing day. Yet, beneath the surface of their professional relationship, something else simmered, something neither dared to name. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the studio in hues of amber and rose, Will touched Nathan's shoulder to adjust his position. It was a fleeting, professional gesture, but it sent a jolt of electricity coursing through Nathan's body. He noticed Will's hands trembling slightly as he returned to the easel. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken words. The tension reached a breaking point one stormy night. Rain lashed against the studio windows as thunder rumbled in the distance. Nathan arrived soaked, his hair plastered to his forehead, his clothes clinging to his skin. Will was restless, pacing the room like a caged animal. The canvases depicting their sessions over the past months formed a semicircle, telling a visual narrative that took Nathan's breath away. "I need to show you something," Will said, leading him to a covered canvas in the corner. When he pulled away the cloth, Nathan froze. It was a portrait of him, but not from their formal sessions. It was him lost in thought at the cafe, gazing out the studio window at the city skyline, laughing during their conversations. Moments Will had secretly captured in his sketchbook and transformed into a breathtaking masterpiece. "I couldn't stop thinking about you," Will confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I tried to keep my distance, stay professional, but every brushstroke betrayed me. It's all here, Nathan. Everything I couldn't say." Before either of them could speak, the studio door burst open. James Mitchell, the director of the Arts Center, entered, bringing with him the cold gust of the storm. His sharp eyes darted from the portrait to the two men standing dangerously close. "We need to discuss the exhibition," he snapped, his voice cutting through the charged air. "The reputation of this center is on the line. We can't afford distractions." Will stepped back, visibly shaken, years of professionalism clashing with the raw emotion of the moment. But then something shifted. Nathan found himself speaking before he could stop himself. "This is the best piece I've ever seen," he declared, his voice trembling with conviction. "If you can't see the beauty here, maybe the problem isn't the art, it's you." Will looked at him, his blue eyes blazing with intensity. "Nathan's right," he said firmly. "This exhibition is about loneliness, about lost and found connections. And this piece is the most honest I've ever created." Mitchell stormed out, leaving behind only the sound of rain and their racing hearts. Will moved closer, his hands gently cupping Nathan's face. "You just challenged 20 years of partnership with the center," he murmured. "And gained something far more valuable," Nathan replied, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. When their lips finally met, it felt like coming home. The storm outside raged on, but within the studio, they had found their calm. In the weeks that followed, their bond deepened. Will poured his soul into finishing the pieces for the exhibition, while Nathan split his time between writing and exploring Philadelphia's literary scene. They met every night in the studio, where dreams of the future intertwined with tender kisses and whispered promises. One afternoon, sitting by the Schuylkill River with his laptop, Nathan finally completed the last chapter of his novel. The story had evolved significantly, shifting from a meditation on urban loneliness to a celebration of courage, the courage to let oneself be found. That night, he showed Will the manuscript. As Nathan read aloud, Will closed his eyes, letting the words wash over him. When Nathan finished, tears streamed down his face. "It's about us," Will said softly. "It's about transformation," Nathan corrected, wiping his tears. "About how sometimes you need to lose your footing to find your wings." Will revealed his final canvas, a self-portrait, but not alone. Nathan was there too, painted alongside him. They were creating together, Will with his brush, Nathan with his words, their colors merging in a central explosion of shared creativity. "This is how I see us," Will explained, "not as artist and muse, but as two creators inspiring each other." Nathan handed him an envelope containing his acceptance letter for a literary residency program in San Francisco. "I'm not doing this for you," he clarified. "I'm doing it for us, for that version of us you painted, because I want to see what stories we can create together." Will kissed him, a kiss filled with promise and possibility. As they packed up the studio for the last time, Nathan felt not sadness but hope. On the horizon, San Francisco awaited, ready to set the stage for their next chapter. 3 years later, San Francisco had become their home. Will's exhibition had been a triumph, praised for its honesty and emotional depth. Nathan's novel, Tones of Blue, had been published to critical acclaim. Together, they had built a life filled with love, art, and endless possibilities. For anyone standing on the edge of their own life-changing decision, Nathan offers these words: "Life rarely gives us perfect moments. What it gives us are opportunities, small windows of possibility through which we can glimpse different versions of ourselves. It's not about being ready to leap, but about being willing to live with the regret of never trying. Every hesitant brushstroke, every unwritten word, every unshared kiss is a little death of what we could have been. So grab your brush, your pen, your heart. Create your own story. Paint your own destiny. The world is waiting for your masterpiece, the one only you can create. After all, as Will always says, life is the biggest blank canvas of all." Their journey wasn't without challenges. Moving to San Francisco meant starting over, finding new friends, adapting to a city that thrived on innovation and speed. For Nathan, it meant stepping out of the comfort zone he had built in Philadelphia. For Will, it meant proving himself in a competitive art scene where success was fleeting. But they faced these challenges together, leaning on each other during moments of doubt. One particularly difficult period came when Will's work was rejected by several galleries. He spent nights pacing their apartment, questioning his talent and purpose. Nathan, seeing the toll it took on him, encouraged him to revisit old sketches and unfinished pieces. "Sometimes," Nathan said one evening, "the answers lie in what we leave behind." Inspired, Will began experimenting with mixed media, blending his paintings with fragments of poetry, lines from Nathan's novels. The result was a series unlike anything he had done before, one that caught the attention of a prominent gallery owner. Meanwhile, Nathan struggled with writer's block after the success of Tones of Blue. The pressure to produce another hit weighed heavily on him. Will, ever supportive, suggested they take a weekend trip to Muirwoods. Walking among the towering redwoods, Nathan felt a sense of perspective he hadn't experienced in years. "Maybe this story doesn't have to be big," Will said as they sat on a fallen log. "Maybe it just has to be true." Those words sparked an idea, and soon Nathan was working on a memoir about their journey. How two strangers found each other in a crowded city and created something beautiful together. Their life in San Francisco became a testament to the power of collaboration. Will's studio, now located in their Mission District loft, was a hub of creativity. Friends, fellow artists, and writers often gathered there, exchanging ideas and inspiration. Nathan hosted monthly readings, inviting emerging authors to share their work. Together, they cultivated a community that celebrated vulnerability and authenticity. Years later, when asked about the secret to their enduring partnership, Nathan smiled and said, "It's not about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who inspires you to become more yourself." Will, standing beside him, added, "And having the courage to follow that inspiration wherever it leads." As they walked hand in hand along Ocean Beach, watching the sun dip below the horizon, they knew their story was far from over. Each day brought new possibilities, new challenges, and new chances to create. For Nathan and Will, life was indeed the biggest blank canvas, and they were determined to fill it with color, love, and meaning.